Welcome to Can Do Korean by KoreanClass101.com.
안녕하세요, 여러분. 김계진입니다. Hi, everyone. I'm Kejin Kim. In this lesson, you learn how to talk about your hobbies in Korean.
Want to know if your Korean skills are improving and what your real learning level is? Get your language skills assessed with our free level assessment test. Just click the link in the description and sign up for a free lifetime account to get assessed.
This is To-chun Cho. He's talking with his neighbor, Noah Yu, in the lobby. They're having a conversation. And To-chun asks, "What's your hobby?"
취미가 뭐예요?
Listen to the conversation and focus on the response. Ready?
취미가 뭐예요?
제 취미는 낚시예요.
Once more with the English translation.
취미가 뭐예요?
What's your hobby?
제 취미는 낚시예요.
My hobby is fishing.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how To-chun Cho asks, "What's your hobby?"
취미가 뭐예요?
First is
취미,
hobby.
취미, 취미,
Next is the particle,
가,
the subject marking particle.
가, 가,
Note,
가,
follows words that end in a vowel, like
취미,
here it marks
취미,
hobby as the subject of the sentence. Together it's
취미가,
your hobby.
취미가,
Note, the your is understood through context, as the speaker is asking the listener a direct question. Last is
뭐예요?
a polite, informal phrase meaning what is.
뭐예요?
First is
뭐,
what.
뭐, 뭐,
Next is
예요?
here, it's like the is in what is.
예요? 예요? 예요?
Is from the particle,
이다,
which acts like the English verb to be.
이다,
Note,
예요?
follows words that end in vowels, like
뭐,
together,
뭐예요?
what is.
뭐예요?
Here, the question is formed by the rising intonation. Listen again.
뭐예요?
All together,
취미가 뭐예요?
literally means, your hobby, what is? But translates as, what's your hobby?
취미가 뭐예요?
Let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember how Noah Yu says, "My hobby is fishing"?
제 취미는 낚시예요.
First is
제,
my.
제, 제,
This is the shortened form of
저,
the humble word for I and
의,
meaning of. Together it's
저의,
my.
저의,
This is shortened to
제,
next is
취미,
hobby.
취미,
Together,
제 취미,
my hobby.
제 취미.
Next is the particle,
는,
the topic marking particle.
는, 는,
Here,
는.
indicates that my hobby is the topic of the sentence. Think of it like, as for, in the expression, as for my hobby. Note, there are two forms of the topic marking particle.
는,
Follows words that end in a vowel, such as,
취미,
next is,
낚시,
fishing.
낚시, 낚시,
Last is,
예요,
in this case, it's like the is in it is.
예요, 예요, 예요,
Is from the particle,
이다,
meaning to be.
이다.
Note, there are two forms of the polite spoken form of the particle,
이다. 예요,
follows words that end in a vowel, like,
낚시.
altogether.
제 취미는 낚시예요.
This literally means, my hobby fishing it is. But it translates as, my hobby is fishing.
제 취미는 낚시예요.
Note, when responding to a question or request about your hobby, you can shorten your response to just your hobby. For example,
낚시예요.
it's fishing. It's perfectly acceptable to omit,
제 취미는
as for my hobby, and only answer with your hobby. You should be aware of this shortcut. But for this lesson, we'll use the extended pattern. The pattern is,
제 취미는 hobby, 예요, 이예요.
my hobby is hobby.
제 취미는 hobby, 예요, 이예요.
To use this pattern, simply replace the hobby placeholder with a hobby. Imagine you like baseball.
야구, 야구, 야구.
Say, my hobby is baseball. Ready?
제 취미는 야구예요.
My hobby is baseball.
제 취미는 야구예요.
There are two informal polite forms of the particle 이다, meaning to be. 예요 follows words that end in a vowel, such as 낚시. 이예요 follows words that end in a consonant, such as 여행, which means traveling. For example, 여행이에요.
Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
제 취미는 낚시예요. 제 취미는 낚시예요.
제 취미는 야구예요. 제 취미는 야구예요.
제 취미는 여행이에요. 제 취미는 여행이에요.
제 취미는 수영이에요. 제 취미는 수영이에요.
저는 독서를 좋아해요. 저는 독서를 좋아해요.
Did you notice how the last speaker uses a different pattern?
Wondering how you can master these conversations even faster? Here's how. 1. Read along. You get the lesson conversation and translations inside our dialogue tool so that you see each word as you hear it and understand it all. 2. Practice speaking. By shadowing what you hear, you can also record and compare yourself with native speakers with our voice recording tools. And 3. Take our assessment tests and see how much you remember. These tools are part of our Can-Do course. Just click the link in the description to get them.
저는 독서를 좋아해요.
I like reading. First is
저,
meaning I.
저.
This is the humble word for I. Next is
는,
the topic marking particle.
는.
It marks I as the topic of the sentence. Think of it like as for in the expression as for me. Together it's
저는,
as for me.
저는
Next is
독서를,
reading.
독서를,
This starts with
독서,
reading.
독서, 독서.
Next is
를,
the object marking particle.
를.
Note,
를,
follows words that end in a vowel, as in
독서,
in this sentence,
를,
marks
독서.
reading as the object of the sentence. Think of it as marking the thing, reading, being talked about. Last is
좋아해요,
like.
좋아해요, 좋아해요, 좋아해요.
Is from the verb,
좋아하다,
meaning to like.
좋아하다.
Last is
요,
the polite sentence ending particle.
요.
Together it's
좋아해요,
like.
좋아해요.
Altogether it's
저는 독서를 좋아해요.
It literally means, as for me, reading, like, but translates as, I like reading.
저는 독서를 좋아해요.
The pattern is
저는 허비, 를 좋아해요.
I like hobby.
를,
Follows words that end in a vowel, as in,
독서,
while
을,
follows words that end in a consonant. You should be aware of this pattern, but you won't need it for this lesson. Let's review the new words.
야구,
Baseball,
야구, 야구. 여행,
traveling,
여행, 여행. 수영,
swimming,
수영, 수영. Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say fishing? 낚시, 낚시. And how to say hobby? 취미. 취미. Do you remember how to say my hobby? 제 취미. 제 취미. And how to say as for my hobby? 제 취미는 Do you remember how Noah Yu says my hobby is fishing?
제 취미는 낚시예요.
제 취미는 낚시예요. Do you remember how to say what? 뭐. Do you remember the subject marking particle that follows words ending in vowels? 가. Do you remember how 도준조 asks, "What's your hobby?"
취미가 뭐예요?
취미가 뭐예요? Do you remember how to say baseball? 야구. And how to say traveling? 여행. Do you remember how to say swimming? 수영.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Do Chun Cho and you like baseball. Respond to the question. Ready?
취미가 뭐예요?
제 취미는 야구예요.
Listen again and repeat.
제 취미는 야구예요. 제 취미는 야구예요.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Chiyoung Chu and you like traveling. Ready?
취미가 뭐예요?
제 취미는 여행이에요.
Listen again and repeat.
제 취미는 여행이에요. 제 취미는 여행이에요.
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Sang-hoon Song and you like swimming. Ready?
취미가 뭐예요?
제 취미는 수영이에요.
Listen again and repeat.
제 취미는 수영이에요. 제 취미는 수영이에요.
This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Now you know how to talk about your hobbies in Korean. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.